Whether it's the might of the sword or the charm of sorcery, franchises set in historical and/or fantasy settings are known to captivate the viewers quite easily. While the power system of these storylines is undoubtedly one reason why we love them so much, the nature of their conflicts is also quite a big reason why we simply can't get enough of medieval weapons and different forms of magic. Like in any good story, the villains often play as much of a crucial part as the heroes, especially when the threat might be that of a world-ending nature. Usually capable of awe-worthy feats even within their own world, these antagonists provide challenges that not only move the story forward, but also give the viewers a reason to truly root for the heroes they've been following all along. In fact, an exploration of some of the most prominent villains in various sword and sorcery franchises might just remind you of why the victory of our protagonists is often sweet when faced with such foes. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Burn you the way to paradise!
Thula Doom, Conan the Barbarian, 1982. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Conan the Barbarian is a movie set in the world of magic, might, and various religious groups. Having been brutally orphaned at a young age, Conan grew up working for his oppressors before earning his freedom and deciding to take revenge on the man who killed his parents and took the sword that his father had forged and loved. Conan's nemesis, though, is certainly no pushover. Hailing from the land of Stygia, Thula Doom possesses all the traits you might expect from an evil warlord from a mystical historical land. He killed Conan's parents right in front of his eyes, enslaved all the Sumerian children, including Conan, and has a cult-like following of numerous henchmen. There's also a pet snake to complete the image, along with evil designs on a princess and the ability to control people against their will. Overall, Thula Doom is not a man anyone might want to go up against. James Earl Jones does a great job of not only portraying just how cruel and villainous Doom is, but also highlighting that he's not a foe to be taken lightly. Throughout the movie, Conan and Doom clash multiple times, either directly or via one of the many obstacles created by the evil man. Out of all of his powers, it's Doom's ability to hypnotize others that truly seems to make him dangerous. After all, how can you fight someone when they can easily make you obey them? Needless to say, the moment that Conan is able to resist that particular trap is more than a little satisfying, highlighting not only his strength, but also the reason why he's pursued Doom for so long. Kuran Highlander, 1986. When watching Highlander, one can't help but feel for Connor MacLeod, the protagonist, who suffered much under the strain of immortality. A member of the MacLeod clan, he and his compatriots had been fighting the Fraser clan in 1536. This is the first time that Connor faces the Kurgan, a warrior whose only reason to fight is to kill Connor. Despite being stabbed, Connor miraculously recovers, only to be accused of witchcraft and be exiled. Slowly, a new world is revealed to Connor as he learns his new identity as an immortal. With Ramirez as a mentor, he gets to know how he can't age or have children, and has to prepare for the ultimate gathering, at the end of which only one immortal will be left standing and will receive the prize. While Connor himself wants to lead a peaceful life, the Kurgan is determined to consolidate as much power as possible, from killing other immortals to hurting those close to them. There are few boundaries that the Kurgan won't cross if it means getting one step closer to victory. After all, winning the prize means having the power of all immortals to ever exist. And that's a temptation that an evil man like the Kurgan can hardly let go of. Both Connor and the Kurgan are excellent swordsmen and showcase their skills multiple times throughout the movie. Given the amount of destruction he caused, it's understandable why he's one of the most notorious fictional villains. Actor Clancy Brown certainly does a great job of instilling fear in the hearts of those who are rooting for Connor and are rightfully afraid of what the Kurgan's victory might lead to.
Weapon forged by man will harm you whilst you wear this armor.
Morgana Le Fay, Excalibur, 1981. Morgana Le Fay, a well-known figure from the Arthurian legends, has often been cast in a villainous role in the various Arthur Merlin stories. In the movie Excalibur, though, everything is a bit grey, and Morgana just might be justified in her hatred for Merlin. After all, Merlin did use his magic to help Uther Pendragon seduce her mother while disguised as her father. Not only did Morgana's father, the Duke of Cornwall, die, but Morgana's mother, Igraine, was left pregnant with a baby who would grow up to be Arthur Pendragon. As far as origin stories go, this version of Morgana has a fair share of reasons to hate Merlin and the line of Pendragon. That said, her later actions in the story do solidify her as a villain. Though traumatized by what happened to her mother, Morgana did do the same to Arthur by sleeping with him while being disguised as Guinevere. Given that Arthur was her half-brother, this particular union is something that few can stomach. Additionally, while on her quest for revenge, Morgana enchants many people negatively, like Gawain, who then ends up accusing Guinevere of treachery, with things only spiraling down further and further. Further, she also played a pivotal role in hampering the quest for the Holy Grail in order to reverse the effects of the calamity that befell Arthur and his lands due to the birth of Mordred. Bear in mind that a quest for the Holy Grail wouldn't have been needed if Morgana hadn't decided to fool her own half-brother into having a son. Despite the results of her actions, Morgana certainly did showcase her skills as a witch and made use of all her magical and persuasion powers to get what she wanted.
Do as I ask of you, and I will.
Queen Taramis, Conan the Destroyer, 1984. Conan the Destroyer follows Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan after the events of Conan the Barbarian. Having gained a reputation for his strength, Shadizar's Queen Taramis gives Conan an enticing offer. If he escorts her niece to the fortress of wizard Thothamon to retrieve a magical gem, Taramis promises to revive Valeria, Conan's love from the first movie, who died in his arms. From the very start, though, Taramis never had an intention of keeping a promise. She'd sent along her guard named Bombata on the quest, but had secretly ordered him to kill Conan and the others after the gem was retrieved. While Conan didn't die, Taramis succeeded in having her niece kidnapped and brought back to her. Using the gem, Taramis hoped to wake up the god called Dagoth. However, Conan interrupted the process, leading to Dagoth not being resurrected fully and killing Taramis in his rampage before Conan was able to subdue him. Unlike Thula Doom, Queen Taramis is a more manipulative villain, who's able to make Conan do her bidding by using his love against him. Though she never had good intentions, Taramis was able to hide them very well, all the while planning on killing her niece and betraying the man she herself had recruited for the task.
If you consent to be my queen, I will halt the attacks of the Slayers.
Beast, Krull, 1983. Set on the faraway planet of Krull, the 1983 sci-fi movie takes its name from the planet and follows the heroic journey of Prince Colwyn as he overcomes various obstacles to save his loved Princess Lisa, the clutches of the alien villain called the Beast. The Beast is not alone and has an army of slayers who try to impede Colwyn's progress as much as possible. Interestingly, Beast is not above using underhanded tactics to break Lisa's trust in Colwyn. Throughout the movie, the Beast isn't much involved in the direct fighting. Instead, he opts to have his minions impede Colwyn's path, all the while trying to somehow woo Lisa. In fact, he even sends a changeling to seduce Colwyn and tries to expose the potential infidelity in real time. However, it backfires when the hero chooses to stay true to his love. Despite all of this, the Beast casts a huge shadow throughout the quest undertaken by the heroes. Not only does Colwyn have to retrieve an ancient magical weapon called the glaive, but he also has to undertake the impossible task of locating the Beast's spaceship called the Black Fortress, which changes location with every sunrise. Even then, impaling the Beast with the glaive is not enough. In fact, Colwyn and Lisa are lucky that the weapon at least helps them get married and allows Colwyn to wield fire against the Beast. Gedren, Red Sonja, 1985. While Red Sonja might not be the most popular sword and sorcery movie out there, it does feature some highly intriguing characters. Sandal Bergman's Queen Gedren is certainly one such aspect of the film that also stars Brigitte Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger. From the very start of the movie, viewers become well aware of just how ruthless and evil Gedren can be. Jilted by the fact that Sonja refuses her advances, Gedren has Sonja's family killed, while she herself is assaulted brutally by Gedren's soldiers. This means that when Gedren's desire for the all-powerful talisman is revealed, Sonja has both a personal and a moral interest in ensuring that Gedren meets her end by any means possible. As for Gedren, she certainly doesn't seem to have any problems with using her power to destroy her opponents. This is evident by the destruction of Hablok after Tarn refuses to surrender. Gedren also has some interesting gadgets, like her mechanical dragon and her magic mirror. Even toward the end of the story, Gedren's obsession for Sonja hasn't diminished, though it seems that the evil ruler's lust for power is just a bit stronger. Overall, Queen Gedren's nature is a compelling combination of being ruthless, evil, ambitious, and power-hungry. Supplemented by her ability with magic and her army of minions, Gedren is a force to be feared, even when spiraling into insanity. Skeletor, Masters of the Universe. Within the Masters of the Universe franchise, Skeletor has always been the main villain with whom He-Man or Prince Adam of Eternia has clashed again and again. Initially, Skeletor's origins pointed towards him belonging to an alternate dimension, with him hoping to transport his army to the land of Eternia using another portal and hopefully defeat He-Man and his allies. However, that's not all there is to Skeletor, as the villain's grudge against Eternia is soon made clearer. It's revealed that Skeletor might actually be Keldor, the older half-brother of Eternia's King Randor. Being the son of the previous king, Keldor had hoped one day to rule Eternia, but was overlooked for the position because his mother was from the Gar race. As such, he certainly doesn't have any warm feelings for the residents of Eternia and wants to take back what he believes to be rightfully his. Over the course of the franchise, Skeletor and He-Man have butted heads quite often, with the heroic prince defeating Skeletor time and again. The villain in question is not always happy with his allies as well. He's not above using his powers against them to exercise his authority. He's also been known to indulge in some pretty destructive methods that have resulted in the loss of many lives. In other words, when it comes to bringing about the destruction of Eternia, Skeletor is willing to do anything and destroy everything as long as he's the one on the Eternian throne at the end of it all.
This decayed form to Mumra!
Mumra, Thundercats. Within the world of Thundercats, a race of aliens who are a mixture of cats and humans are led by Lion-O. Living on the planet called Third Earth, these former residents of Thundera have to often battle against Mumra, a priest who's proudly evil and often boasts about being the source of evil on this planet. In reality, though, Mumra is a servant to ancient spirits of evil, who want Mumra to boost the dark powers on Third Earth. Thanks to the powers that Mumra has been given by his overlords, his abilities range from shapeshifting to invulnerability. What truly makes him an enemy to be feared is the fact that, for all intents and purposes, Mumra is essentially an immortal being. While he may look far from pleasing thanks to his decaying and mummified appearance, his ability to return to his stone sarcophagus after every fatal defeat means that while you can delay Mumra's plans, you can never really put an end to them. As expected from a powerful figure like him, Mumra is rarely afraid of anything or anyone. This, of course, doesn't include the ancient spirits of evil, who are the source of all his powers and desires. In fact, in case of failures, Mumra has also been punished heavily by his overlords. Throughout the franchise, Mumra has often received many power-ups and uses them cleverly to not only dominate his battles, but also to create chaos by tricking his opponents. He's also quite fond of Marmot, his loyal demonic dog, whom he does seem to care for in his own way.
Woman, I spit on.
Lord Necron, Fire and Ice, 1983. Fire and Ice follows the conflict between the evil rulers of Ice Peak and the royal family of Firekeep. After Queen Juliana and Prince Necron have destroyed many villages using their ice powers, they decide to capture Princess Tigra, the daughter of Firekeep's King Jarl. Tigra does manage to escape her captors once and meets Lan, a young survivor of the actions of Juliana and Necron. However, Tigra is captured again and brought to Ice Peak. While Necron refuses to marry her, he does keep her hostage, prompting Lan to embark on a quest to save her with the help of the mysterious Dark Wolf, who has his own reasons for killing Juliana and Necron. Throughout the movie, Necron is showcased as someone who's powerful and not afraid to use his abilities to get what he wants. One of his most horrifying acts seen on screen might be how he manipulated Firekeep's delegation to kill each other. This particular magical ability and his usage of it in such a manner truly makes one wary of just how far Necron is willing to go to crush his opponents, especially when he himself needs to do little to no killing. More often than not, he has his army of subhumans to do his bidding, as seen during Tigra's capture. As for his actions towards Tigra, it's made abundantly clear that Necron doesn't respect her and doesn't want to marry her. However, he's certainly not willing to give up such a decisive advantage against his enemies, highlighting just how calculated his actions can be.
But kill me, Navarre, and the curse will go on forever.
The Bishop of Aquila, Lady Hawk, 1985. When watching Lady Hawk, it's hard not to feel antagonistic towards the infamous Bishop of Aquila. The depths of his depravities is only revealed to viewers when Philippe Gaston comes across Etienne Navarre and his hawk while trying to flee from the bishop's forces. There's also the added mystery of the beautiful woman who Philippe only ever sees at night and the Black Wolf who saved him many times. It's later revealed that the woman is Isabeau of Anjou, who'd rejected the bishop. When the bishop learns that she and Navarre have gotten married, he curses the couple so that Isabeau is transformed into a hawk during the day, while Navarre becomes a wolf during the night. A monk named Imperius states that the curse can be broken if both of them look at the bishop as humans on a day without a night and a night without a day. The mystery of this particular puzzle is solved when a solar eclipse allows both Navarre and Isabeau to be human at the same time. Given the bishop's actions throughout the story, his villainous nature is quite evident to the viewers. Despite being an apparent man of God, he chooses to embrace satanic methods because he can't bear that the woman he wants is in love with someone else. Additionally, the movie also sheds light on his corrupt nature when he uses his power as a bishop to persecute others unjustly. His tendency for violence, combined with his choice of keeping people apart from their loved ones, makes the Bishop of Aquila a true antagonist.
I will be invincible!
Akivasha, Kull the Conqueror, 1997. Set in the kingdom of Valusia, Kull the Conqueror is about an Atlantean named Kull, who, due to unforeseen circumstances, becomes the king of the kingdom, much to the dissatisfaction of the nobles. As such, a plot is hatched to revive the evil queen Akivasha, who enchants Kull and becomes queen. Kull is able to escape from her clutches thanks to the efforts of Zareta, a slave, and her brother, Escalante. The trio travels to obtain Breath of Valka, the weapon of god Valka who had defeated Akivasha the first time. However, their efforts are thwarted as Zareda is kidnapped just after she gets hold of the breath. Kull returns to Valusia and is able to defeat Akivasha when Zareda passes him the weapon by kissing him. What makes the character of Akivasha an intriguing one is her dark origins and heinous action. During her first life, she'd amassed enough power that she had to ultimately be defeated at the hand of a god, something that's a testament to her strength. One does have to wonder why the nobles of Valusia thought they could have an entity like her do their bidding. Akivasha certainly didn't waste much time in setting them straight. There are also Akivasha's magical abilities to speak of, and just what they can do. Not only did she easily manipulate Kull into becoming his queen, but she was also able to fake his death and blame it on Zareta quite convincingly. The true extent of Akivasha's identity is brought to light during the solar eclipse, when she starts changing her form, with her abilities becoming harder to combat. Xerxes, 300, 2006. There are few movies within the historical genre that can hold a candle to the magnificence of 300. The movie tells the gripping story of Sparta's fight against God King Xerxes and how 300 of Sparta's finest made a final stand against the Persian king's massive army in order to delay the assault as much as possible and warn his subjects and allies. Within the movie, Xerxes is portrayed as a king who believes himself to be divine. He believes his war to be a mandate from the heavens, and many think he may not even bleed. While King Leonidas does prove that speculation to be false, Xerxes' power and magnificence still leave many in awe. Despite his much larger numbers, his attacks start to falter in the face of the Greeks. As such, the information provided by Ephialtes proves to be a boon to him at the time. One of the major reasons why Xerxes is seen as the ultimate enemy is his apparent belief in his superiority over others. His apparent cruel nature and arrogance only fuel one's desire to see just how much the Spartans can make him and his army bleed. Given the film's historical origins, it might not surprise many that Xerxes did actually exist in history. Known as Xerxes the Great, the real-life Persian king never actually declared himself a god king. In fact, like many battles in history, the one on which 300 is based is certainly a matter of perspective, as Xerxes did edge out a victory, much to the satisfaction of his own people. If one were to compare, there might not be many similarities between the actual Xerxes and the villainous ruler showcased in 300, even though the broader historical events remain the same.
For Sauron will have dominion over all life on this earth.
Sauron, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. One can hardly talk about villains of the fantasy genre without talking about Sauron, the ultimate antagonist of them all. A quest is undertaken by the Fellowship of the Ring in order to enable Frodo Baggins to travel to Mount Doom and destroy Sauron's ultimate weapon, his precious ring. While the viewers might mostly know him as the flaming evil eye within the walls of Mordor, there was once a time when the evil overlord did have a body. Disguising himself as Anatar, he became friends with elven smiths and helped them forge 19 rings of power. However, he secretly bound all these rings to the One Ring that he forged in the fires of Mount Doom. Using the One Ring, Sauron had hoped to control the elvish population. Even though Sauron's original plan failed, his atrocities were still enough for Middle-earth's residents to band together and destroy his body. During the Third Age, which is when the trilogy takes place, Sauron may not have much of a body, but his strength still remains strong. His armies of orcs and wraiths are seen readying themselves to wage war against Middle-earth, with he himself focused on locating just where the One Ring might be. Anyone even remotely familiar with the Lord of the Rings franchise is well aware that Sauron casts a long, evil shadow. Though his armies may be mighty, it's truly his ability to manipulate others that make him as formidable as he is. Not only were the Rings of Power a result of the same, but he was also able to manipulate Saruman, a feat that even Gandalf was taken aback by the outcome of. Lochnar, heavy metal, 1981. In the world of heavy metal, the influence of Lochnar is one that binds all the stories together. At various points in the movie, Lochnar appears as a glowing orb that's believed to be the sum of all evils, and the entity's reputation certainly proves true every time it leaves destruction and chaos in its wake. Unlike many other villains, Lochnar doesn't seem to have a set ambition. In fact, in most of the stories within the film, it's others who want to claim Lochnar, believing that this would grant them unimaginable power. However, at every turn, Lochnar proves that it can't be controlled or predicted by anyone. In fact, its presence often leads to unexpected turns of events, but with assured destruction of those around it. Anyone who does survive their encounter with Lochnar has an understandable paranoia regarding the entity, with most choosing to stay as far from it as possible. Lochnar itself is rarely ever stationary, often flitting from one place to another while influencing events in a manner that will see to the rise of evil as it wants. Given its lack of any material wants, Lochnar's terrifying in its simplicity. This isn't someone to be reasoned with or someone whom you can stop by thwarting their goal. In fact, there's not even any identifiable emotion to be distinguished from Lochna, as it wreaks havoc and destroys what many might hold dear.
What is his, and you will all perish by his hand! Will you dare this fate?
Max, the Beastmaster, 1982. It all starts with a prophecy and ends with its fulfillment in The Beastmaster. The story is set primarily in the kingdom of Arak, where High Priest Max gets to know that the yet-to-be-born son of King Zed will kill him. Despite his efforts, the child lives and grows up to be Dar, a young man who can speak to animals. When Dar's adoptive village is slaughtered by Max's allies, the Juns, he vows to get justice and starts traveling to Arak. With the help of his many animal companions, magical allies, and newfound family, Dar does succeed in killing Max, though it's not without cost. After all, the High Priest has the witches on his side, who have the skills to revive him. In fact, Max's alliance with the witches is one of his strongest suits. Not only did the witches inform Max of his potential killer, but one of them also successfully transported Dar from the womb of his mother into a bull. However, magic is not all that Max relies on during the story. His alliance with the Juns, the bunch of fanatic barbarians, is the main reason why Dar even came after him after all. In fact, even after Max was defeated, the Juns remained an issue for the protectors of Arak as they attacked the kingdom with all of their might. While one might argue that Max kickstarted the whole process when he went after the unborn Dar, his ambitions and greed likely would have led the hero and the villain to fight against each other anyway. After all, Dar's younger brother Tal had been fighting Max even before Dar became a part of the fight.
Arise, my messengers of death.
The Horned King, The Black Cauldron, 1985. The Black Cauldron is arguably one of the darkest animated movies to come out of Disney, and rightfully so. From the very start of the story, the Horned King is established as a figure to be feared and avoided. His desire to find the Black Cauldron in order to have an army of undead cauldron-born is enough to scare anyone, which leads to a young Taran embarking on a quest to make sure that the Horned King's plans don't succeed. Of course, Taran's work is easier said than done. After all, the Horned King has an army of dark creatures at his disposal and is not above using painful methods to get his way. With his skull face and evil intentions, the Horned King is the stuff of nightmares, and the very possibility of him gaining an undefeatable army has everyone scrambling to hamper his path. In a truly villainous fashion, the Horned King continues to fight until the very end, though he is thankfully defeated by Taran and his allies.
Your pigs!
Queen Bavmorda, Willow, 1988. In 1988's Willow, evil Queen Bavmorda sends her forces after a newborn baby girl, as the child is prophesied to be the catalyst of her doom. However, an aspiring dwarf magician named Willow comes across the child and tries to ensure that Bavmorda is not able to lay her hands on her. Accompanying Willow in his quest is swordsman Mad Martigan, who's initially a fickle man but soon becomes Willow's strongest ally. Similar to other fictional villains who learn about their prophesied defeat, Bavmorda is no different, as she rounds up all pregnant women in order to ensure that no baby survives her purge and thus can't spell her death. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, her actions to escape her fate are ultimately what end up bringing her closer to her end. As it turns out, trying to kill a baby is far from Bavmorda's only crime. Using her magic, she's attacked and defeated those who have tried to stand up against her. She also has an army full of a variety of creatures that seem to revel in death and destruction, similar to her. Bavmorda also seems fond of transforming her enemies into animals, like Raziel being turned into a possum. Her repertoire for obscure rituals is also quite extensive, and even provides her access to other worlds, though that ultimately leads to her defeat, something that was promised to the viewers from the very start of this gripping tale.
Stand back, you fools!
Maleficent, Sleeping Beauty, 1959. The story of Sleeping Beauty is one that few are unaware of. After the birth of Princess Aurora, the evil fairy Maleficent is offended to have not been invited to her christening and curses the child that she'll prick her finger on a spindle of a spinning wheel on her 16th birthday and die. Thanks to the good fairies, though, Aurora is now doomed to eternal sleep unless she gets a true love's kiss. Despite the destruction of all the spindles and raising Aurora in a forest, the curse still comes to pass. Prince Philip, who fell in love with Aurora not long ago, fights valiantly to be by her side and awaken her, a quest he succeeds in despite Maleficent's numerous attempts to hinder his progress, with her even transforming into a huge dragon. Within the story of Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent is shown as a determined but evil individual who certainly doesn't want her curse to go to waste. Despite all spindles going to waste, she makes sure that Aurora's fate comes to pass by conjuring a spindle in a locked-away tower. Moreover, her attempts to keep Aurora and Philip separated are certainly daunting. From spiky thorns surrounding Aurora's castle to fighting Maleficent in her dragon form, there's much that Philip has has to endure thanks to Maleficent. The 2014 movie Maleficent may have a quite different take on the fairy's actions, but for the original animated version of the story, Maleficent remains a strong adversary whom few would be willing to fight, given her vast dominion over the Forbidden Mountain and her abilities to curse and shapeshift.
His name was Memnon. He was the greatest swordsman the world had.
Emperor Memnon, the Scorpion King, 2002. Matthias of Akkad may have been the villain of The Mummy Returns, but his role in The Scorpion King is that of a hero. After the existing Scorpion King, Emperor Memnon, had crushed the Akkadians, Matthias vowed revenge. During this quest, he's helped by many of Memnon's enemies, as well as the Emperor's sorceress, Cassandra, who has the ability to see into the future. Due to his aggressive tactics, Memnon has earned many enemies, but he has the strength to back up his actions. His army from the east is massive and is known for decimating all those who come across it. Thanks to Cassandra's services, he's also aware of when and how his enemies will attack him, making him an adversary that few are willing to fight against. Memnon's brutal nature can be seen in his decision to have his enemies suffer before their deaths, a scene when he buried Matthias alive at the mercy of fire ants. He's also not someone who's interested in making any genuine allies, as almost every one of his supporters is either being coerced or has their own selfish reasons. Take Cassandra, for example, who's said to be one of Memnon's best assets, but it's soon revealed that she's not doing so by her own choice, since the Emperor kidnapped her as a kid and has been keeping her a prisoner. As for Takmet's support for Memnon, the patricide that started this particular partnership certainly doesn't paint either of them in a good light. Given just how strong Matthias is within this world of fantasy, the fact that he still struggles to fight against Memnon is a good indication that the Emperor's reputation for evil and strength is well deserved. Titus Cromwell, The Sword and the Sorcerer, 1982. When watching The Sword and the Sorcerer, it's quite easy to wish for the downfall of Titus Cromwell, the king who's gone to great lengths to see his wishes be fulfilled. He started off by resurrecting an evil sorcerer, Zuzia, to defeat King Richard, but then betrays his ally before killing Richard and laying claim to the kingdom of Aedan. Richard's son, Talon, is more than horrified by the fates of his parents and vows revenge using the mystical blade he was given by his father. Years later, Talon comes back as a strong warrior, becomes an ally of the rebel forces to defeat Cromwell, though he has little desire to actually become a king in the wake. Titus Cromwell is a great example of how far a man is willing to go for his ambitions and greed. He's also not someone to be trusted easily, despite his apparent earnestness. Despite the lengths he went to revive Zuzia, he didn't hesitate in stabbing the sorcerer when Cromwell felt that the magic user had fulfilled his purpose and shouldn't be left behind in case of a potential betrayal. This paranoia earns him the enmity of Zuzia, which comes to haunt him years later. Adding to Cromwell's villainous nature, he marries Princess Alana forcefully, even though it's made quite evident that she wants little to do with the man who's been hurting the people of Aedan for so long. More than anything, it's Cromwell's greed that mainly dictates his actions, and it's also his greed that leads him to his downfall. Darkness, Legend, 1985. As his name suggests, the Lord of Darkness is shown in legend as a being who wants to plunge the world into eternal darkness. In order to achieve this, he sends goblins to kill a mated pair of unicorns and retrieve their horns. The goblins end up following Princess Lily to the forest, where the green man named Jack lives. After the stallion is killed and the goblins successfully take its horn, the world is plunged into a chilling winter. Given the possible disaster that's about to follow, Jack and his companions try their hardest to not only save the mare, but also to take back the stallion's horn and revive him. Meanwhile, Darkness ends up falling for Lily and hypnotizes her to be on his side and marry him. Thankfully though, Jack is not only able to stop the marriage, but succeeds in all his goals, including the defeat of Darkness. Throughout the movie, and even until his last stand, Darkness remains a looming figure in the lives of the questing hero and his allies. In fact, his warning of how he'll truly never disappear, since every creature has some evil in them, is sure to send chills down many spines. After all, what use is defeating an enemy if the enemy can never be truly vanquished? Even while Jack and Lily are shown frolicking into the sunset, the fact that Darkness isn't completely gone and seems amused by his fate is something that makes him stand out amongst the crowd of evil villains throughout the fictional world. Kadar, the Barbarians, 1987. The events within the Barbarians can all be traced back to Kadar, an evil man who decimates the Ragnic tribe and takes Queen Canary hostage. He also decides to imprison twin brothers Kuchek and Gore after they bite off his fingers. The brothers are separated and meet each other again as adults in a death match. After realizing just who they're fighting, the brothers flee. With the help of Canary, as well as the surviving Ragnics, the brothers learn that they have to defeat a dragon to retrieve the magical ruby that has the source of the Ragnics' powers for many years. While they succeed in the task, Kadar learns of what's going on and decides to fight the brothers himself, but ends up dead thanks to his missing fingers. The ruthless side of Kadar's nature is enough to make anyone wary of him. Not only did he completely destroy a peaceful tribe, but he also wanted to kill two young boys. The only reason he didn't do so was because Canary had agreed to marry him should he spare the boys. That said, Kadar certainly didn't let the brothers go easily. His decision to separate and enslave them was not done on a whim. In fact, one could argue that Kadar never had any intention of not killing Kuchek and Gore, and had instead planned for the ultimate betrayal by pitting them against each other with masks on their faces to hide their identities. Kadar is also not a man who takes treachery lightly, as evidenced by his outrage after he learns that his court sorceress has betrayed him. Gone through this list of some of the mightiest sword and sorcery villains, it's safe to say that some of our most favourite stories are intimately shaped by the deeds of evil beings, no matter how much we hate them. In fact, it's hard not to feel in awe of quite a few of them, given their sheer power and ability to manipulate events in order to take what they want. As much as we admire the heroes, one has to admit that without these beings of evil and doom, many of these stories might have failed badly in keeping us hooked throughout. While we definitely don't want these villains to have succeeded in their evil plans, it's hard to deny that they have a charm of their own that one can't help but admire. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks everyone.